Hey guys, it's Tony here. Today we're going to be looking at the actress Evanna Lynch as an example of an INTJ. She's best known for playing the role of Luna Lovegood in the Harry Potter series. And before we get started, I'd like to briefly go over two main points. The first is that when you first get started with the MBTI, you'll encounter these stereotypes such as the INTJ being a evil genius mastermind and all that. And while that might be true in some situations, I never really found those stereotypes particularly useful. And if you rely on those things to try and type people, you're simply going to be wrong more often than not. And I'm not saying that's always the case, but if you want to have a good, solid understanding of the MBTI, you absolutely need to take into consideration the Jungian cognitive functions. Without them, the MBTI has essentially no foundation at all, and people often forget that that's what it's based on. Uh, Also, in before pseudoscience, in before horoscope. The second point is that, yes, I'm aware Luna Lovegood is often typed as INFP on the MBTI memes and all that, but that's more about the fictional character from the books. Overall, I'd recommend not trying to type fictional characters because it can get very problematic. And I just want to make it clear that I'm typing the actress, not the character. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and begin.
Evanna Lynch, who played Luna Lovegood, joins me now. I cannot believe it's 20 years since the books came out.
I know, that's kind of scary. I didn't read them till...
Okay, so right away, when she's prompted with the first question of this interview, notice how she's looking upwards. So generally, I've seen this to be a trait of usage of NI, or introverted intuition. And basically what's going on here is that she's recalling information, conceptual information, which is usually a sign of NI. So try and pay attention to when she does this at other times in the interview, because it occurs very quickly.
Like, Goblet of Fire came out, so
Right.
it feels... Yeah, but 20 years. I was
Crazy.
5. That's scary.
So you read the books before you got the part?
Yeah, big time fan.
That must
yeah.
be brilliant,
Yeah,
then, to actually be part of that. It's like,
Yes, a real live example of the notorious INTJ that's there. And yeah, I know I said I'd try to stay away from the stereotypes, but I couldn't resist. On a more serious note, this does have a ripple effect later on in the interview, and I wouldn't say she's offended by it, but it comes off as rude, and INTJs generally have very little patience for those that interrupt and speak over them. Especially when it's to assume how they feel about something. That's a big no-no.
you're going right into the book and living it.
That's what it felt like to me. It didn't feel like a job. I was just like, great, just get to play make-believe.
And she's such an interesting character as well. One of the most interesting in the books, I think.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's a statement. They're all very interesting in their own way. You know, she's a teenager, and they're all... Teenagers are crazy, and Luna always had that sense of being herself and not being not feeling apologetic
No,
about
not
that.
at all, not at
Yeah.
all. And just paddling her own canoe, I think, is
I
what
like
she
that.
did. Yes, definitely. But you got in touch with J.K. Rowling, didn't you? You were in hospital. You were really ill, and you got in touch with her. And there's been a real friendship between the two of you ever since then. That was before you even got cast for the film.
Yeah. As you say, I was sick. I had an eating disorder at the time, and I wrote to her because I felt like Harry Potter was the only thing that really took my mind off it, and it was such a gift. And Luna especially inspired me because I think a lot of my problems were because I felt odd, I felt weird, and she made me want to see that was okay, and that was actually empowering. So yeah, I wrote to her, and she wrote back, and we became friends, and we became, well, pen friends before I got the role.
Gosh, that's incredible, isn't it, the way that worked out? I mean, an eating disorder is a real tough thing to deal with, but you have, I mean, you look absolutely fine. Things are good.
Thank you, yeah, good.
Great,
Yeah,
good for
no,
you.
I'm
Because that's
all happy that's all behind me.
That's
I'm
really
grateful
tough.
that happened before I became part of the...
Okay, so we just saw the interviewer try to interrupt her again, right? And because of the fact that it's already happened before, she's become aware of the possibility that it might happen again in the future. And I tends to process that kind of stuff by itself, especially when it's in the first slot. INTJs are obviously a naturally introverted type. They lead with dominant introverted intuition. So you can see even a slight discomfort when she's forced to speak up over the interviewer when it's happening in real time. almost as if it's unnatural for her to do that. At the same time, because of extroverted thinking in the second slot, INTJs have this ability to be assertive when they need to be. And in this situation, it's very good because most introverted types simply won't stick up for themselves and they'll just let it slide and be talked over.
Movies.
Yeah.
So that would have been difficult to deal with, you know.
It would have been, actually, you're right, because going in there sorted and everything is good. The great thing about Harry Potter is it allows you to do so many other things. Now, look, I am very intrigued. Tell me about Disco Pigs. This is what it's called. Disco Pigs is a play?
Yes.
And what is the premise of Disco Pigs? I love the title.
I know the name is pretty rad. This beautiful relationship, but they're starting to change. And my character, Runt, they call themselves Pig and Runt. That's where it comes from.
Right.
She starts to see something else for herself, and it's about just this explosion of what happens.
Who would you say that it's for? Is it for everyone, or is it specifically aimed at teenagers or young people, or can everyone enjoy it?
More an older audience.
Yeah.
The content of the language.
Oh, right. Because there is a sort of secret language that the two characters have got.
Yeah,
between each other.
because it is that thing, you know, when you have like a very close bond with someone, you develop like little voices or shorthands or things like that.
Nicknames and all that sort of thing. Yeah.
So this is like 17 years of that. So I think the struggle with the play is the director keeps being like, can't really understand you. Need to slow it down, because it's also written in very thick Cork dialect.
Right.
And it's like they're rhyming things. It takes a moment to get into. I had to read it 3 times to really understand things. And even now in rehearsals, I'm like, oh, that's what that means. So,
What was just said is super important in terms of understanding INTJs, so I'd like to make 2 very clear points about this and then conclude the video. The first is that she mentioned that she had read the script of the play 3 times in order to really understand it, right? Now, I don't want to speak for her personally, so I'd rather do it through the lens of an INTJ and their cognitive stack. Because they lead with introverted intuition, they'll have a natural tendency to look for a higher, encompassing, unifying understanding of a thing or a concept. In the example of a script of a play, it could be something like symbolism, allegory, truth, metaphor, stuff like that. And that's something that's going to be very personal to them. So going back to the stack again, what they tend to do is take that understanding and bring it down to a more practical level through rational thinking, TE, right? And this can be done towards anything that interests them, really. It can be something like architecture, musical compositions and theory, literary works, etc. Now, the second point I wanted to make is that she said during rehearsals she went through these seemingly random aha and eureka moments regarding the meaning of the play. And that's something I found is characteristic of types with strong NI in their stack, especially INTJs and INFJs. Yeah, it's connected with the subconscious mind, but what I'm trying to get at here is that these insights and realizations, they aren't always immediately apparent. They usually happen when the mind is focused on other activities or actions, like taking a walk, for example. So yeah, that's just another indicator of introverted intuition in INTJs, and one that I saw in this video that I wanted to share. Alright, I think I'll wrap it up here. If you made it this far, thanks for listening. I hope you found this video resourceful. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing. And if by any chance you're looking for a male example of an INTJ, a good one would be Bobby Fischer, but he's a bit overused and I just wanted to do something a bit different. And apart from that, INTJ females tend to be a bit harder to come by. But yeah, anyways, take care guys.